back with WSJ Lunch Break. I'm Wendy Bounce. Oh, the woes of owning a famous person's home, from JFK's compound to Woodrow Wilson's tutor. Gawkers on the front porch. That is just the start, folks. Joanne Lublin is right here beside me to talk about this. You interviewed some people who are in really super famous people's homes. There's kind of a benefit, a sort of pleasure to being there, but it's tricky too. Who did you talk to?
Well, I visited 3 homes. One was the home where Betty Friedan wrote The Feminine Mystique in a town called Grandview on the Hudson,
right,
overlooking the Hudson River. And another was the house where the Kennedy clan lived for many years in Florida, known as the Winter White House, because JFK used it a lot when he was president. He wrote his inaugural address there. And the third house in Princeton, New Jersey, was the very first home that Woodrow Wilson ever built. He only owned 2 houses in his life. He built this one with money he borrowed from his dad while he was a professor at Princeton University. They're all absolutely gorgeous homes.
Painstakingly kept up and restored. And speaking
by the current owners.
By the current owners, right. And you know, I wonder with that though, the hurdles they must have to go through in terms of getting permits and inspections on these homes. Did they tell you about, like, was that just incredibly difficult for them?
Well, especially so for the Kennedy home, for the Winter White House, where lots of people could recognize it, where it had only been in the Kennedy's family for over 60 years when the current owner bought it, and who wanted to do a lot of renovation. And so he had 300 inspections during his costly renovation.
And there was something with an electrical socket, right? What happened with that?
Well, there was a screw that was like 1/8 of an inch out of line because it was too close to an electrical outlet. But he changed it. You know, he wanted to do what needed to be done, and that was a really minor change, obviously. And all these houses just reek of history, and so in a sense they belong to the nation as well as to these 3 executives.
You have to know what you're getting into when you buy one. And one of the things you might be getting into is not only having people coming by and taking pictures of your house, but historical groups wanting to erect tributes to the homes. Now, you found that with one of the folks you talked to.
Right, at the Friedan house. Betty Friedan, as we know, wrote The Feminine Mystique. She also co-founded the National Organization for Women. So in her memory now was hoping to place a historical marker in front of this house where she wrote this book. The owner, who I wrote about for the story, was really not interested in having a marker the size they wanted. They claimed they wanted a small one. He said they wanted a big one. The compromise was down the street in front of Village Hall. They erected a fairly large marker.
But just not at the house itself. They're probably still holding out hope that one day.
They are holding out hope. Plus, in February is the 50th anniversary of the publication of the book. So the gawkers and the tourists and the people sneaking up on the porch for wanting a look-see are probably going to come in droves again.
Yeah. Very quickly, anything interesting that happened with the Woodrow Wilson folks?
Well, in the Woodrow Wilson case, he wanted to try and bring it back as much as possible while updating it to have modern amenities. So, among other things, he dug out the concrete driveway and put back the same red pebbles that had been there when the Wilsons lived there.
Wow.